Hello, I'd like to talk a little bit about the movie poster project, which we're looking at is page one of the PDF spec sheet. I'm not going to go over all this. I will comment as far as the first page goes. This is a file that you're going to make. It's going to be 8 by 12 inches, portrait aspect, and the reason I chose that is because a typical poster size is 24 by 36. 8 by 12 is 1/3 of that size. That's just to save file size for this project. And it's also so you can, your image files won't be huge, this will still print out very nice for your portfolio. So just be aware that you're not making a poster-sized object, a poster-sized file, but I'm aware of that. That's a conscious decision on my side. You can use any software you want. If you're going to use something like Photoshop, Clip Studio, Procreate, whatever, make sure that your illustrations are 240 to 300 dpi, as it says in the specs here. I'm going to talk about type later. Display type is a big thing in this project. I suggest you use Adobe Illustrator to create the display type. I'll talk about that more a little bit now. So what are you going to do here? You're going to make a movie poster in the style of Saul Bass. And who is Saul Bass? Well, on page 2 of the PDF, there's a link here. You can click on it and you can read all about Saul Bass. He was one of the most influential American designers in the 20th century. He was very active between 1950 and towards the end of the 1960s. He did a lot of different things, a lot of logos you've seen that are very prevalent. He designed, but in the 50s and 60s, he was known for and popular because of these posters he did for movies. And let me bring this up here somewhere. Hang on, give me a second. So here's I'm going to scroll through some of these movies that Saul Bass did. You've probably seen these on the internet. Very stark, very graphic. And now, like what he did and what you are going to do with a movie of your choice is you're going to think about the movie and how can you represent the theme of that movie symbolically, okay, in these very stark, simple symbols. So this is a good one, Vertigo. A lot of it had to do with fear of heights. It was like one of the subplots, but also it was an analogy because this guy was falling into this very disturbing relationship and so on. So this shows that symbolism of a man falling, and there's a female figure in there, which was really the whole crux of the movie. The other thing you look at, and I'll explain this now, so this is really important. I'll reinforce this later. Suppose you're going to do an image similar to this. This St. Joan, this is the display type, okay? What I would suggest, make your display type in Adobe Illustrator. You're going to have an image like this in the background. If you choose to do so, you could make this imagery in Photoshop. Bring this image into InDesign, okay? Make the St. Joan display type in Adobe Illustrator. Bring this in as a separate Adobe Illustrator file into InDesign. So you have a Photoshop file, you have an InDesign file, you have a Photoshop file, you have an Adobe Illustrator display type file. Now this little type, incidental type on your poster, set this in InDesign. Okay, and I'll get back to this and I'll repeat that. So like any little small incidental type, do not set it in Photoshop. Do not make type in Photoshop, especially this small type like this. Let's go back to the specs, and this will be more clear as we go on here. Let's see, did I mention this already? The couple links on page 2 will tell you all about Saul Bass. I want you to read those. You can make any movie poster you want except movies that already have a Saul Bass movie poster. He did, I think, about 37 of them on page 2 of the specs. Click this link down here. It's a IndieWire article that will show you every poster that Saul Bass ever made. Look at those to get inspiration. So you can't do a Saul Bass movie. For example, you cannot do The Shining because Saul Bass already did it. The other thing, on the end of page 2, it's really important, and I put it in red. Be sure to read this. So every poster does not just simply have the title and an image. No, it has stuff like the director's name, some of the actors. In some cases, they'll have like a blurb, like in Alfred Hitchcock's Masterpiece, or a masterpiece of modern horror. Your poster has to look credible. So your poster has to have incidental type in it like this. If you're so motivated, you could even grab off the internet a high-res image of like the rating or whatever if you want to. But it does have to look like a real poster. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, folks. I know it. This display type, you can make this in Adobe Illustrator. You can make it in Photoshop. Import this into your InDesign document. This kind of type, like this, the incidental type, smaller type, typeset that in InDesign. Do not do typesetting in Photoshop. And I know I'm repeating myself. It's very, very important. Long story short, be sure you read the last wording on the end of page 2. Also, if you do a search on the internet for in the style of Saul Bass, you'll get a lot of people that, like for example, this Return of the King, Saul Bass did not make this. This was a student work that was made in the style of Saul Bass. Okay, likewise, something like this, where's like Lord of the Rings. That is not a Saul Bass work, but you can see there's lots of examples of how students interpreted Saul Bass's style. This again is not a Saul Bass work. This is a student work that is in the style of Saul Bass. This one's kind of interesting. This is actually 3 posters. This is elaborate. That's kind of cool. So anyway, you can see there's lots of inspiration online. Here's another one. This is another Saul Bass in the style of Saul Bass. And this is a pretty good student example. It's a credible. It has, incidental type, showing the names of the actors and so on. This looks like a poster, and this wrinkle effect, that was a mistake. This person should not have applied that wrinkles. But anyway, it's a pretty good design, and what I like about this, as far as a student work goes, it has all the stuff that you would typically see in a poster. So I think that's all I got. So read the specs, pick a movie that you're familiar with. What you're going to do is reduce the theme of that movie into these stark symbols and create a credible movie poster. So good luck.